like to turn now to our next guest. We have Dr. Sona Kazemi, assistant professor at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, joining us from Wisconsin. What do you make of the fact that Mojtaba was not there to deliver this statement? And what do we actually know about his whereabouts and condition?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It is really interesting to see this unfold. As we all know that Mojtaba Khamenei, Ali Khamenei's son, has been this mysterious phantom behind the scenes that everybody has known about, especially since after the 2009 kind of post-election civil uprising that was brutally suppressed by the regime. We, after that, heard from even some factions within the regime saying that Mojtaba is even more hardliner than his father, and that he is very much invested in brutalizing the population and basically doing anything to stay in power and rise in power. So we kind of knew this, but he was nowhere to be found. In fact, there was only like one little footage of him that ever circulated, him like giving his those special religious lessons in like a seminary school or whatever. But now we see that the regime is claiming that based on the pressures from the IRGC, this figure has been, quote unquote, selected to become the next supreme leader. But then we haven't seen him anywhere. So there are reports that he is in the Sina hospital in Tehran. There are some reports that he is in the Bariatullah hospital in Tehran. There are conflicting reports saying that he is still unconscious, that he doesn't even know what has happened. Some people say that he might even be dead for all we know, because his wife and children and parents are dead. So we don't even know if he's still alive. And if he is alive, he's probably bloodthirsty to figure out, you know, to take vengeance to take revenge for what happened to his family. So we don't really know what's going on. But again, this is like a pretty predictable trajectory for the Islamic Republic that problematized constitutional monarchy of Iran, saying why it is hereditary while they themselves made it hereditary. Now we see that he was, quote unquote, selected or pushed onto the people after Khamenei.
I want to talk about these threats to shipping and international trade, the basic acknowledgement that Iran has no problem with shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, which we, of course, know is essential to the world's oil trade. What could this mean for the future of this conflict with Iran, especially amid reports already that the Islamic regime actually isn't as weak as was believed as a result of both U.S. and Israeli strikes?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to answer that, let me give you a little snapshot of what's going on inside the country and how these decisions are being made. First of all, from what we know, and when we speak to our families, internet has been shut down. So all we know from the country is through bits and pieces and information that are trickling down through 1 or 2 minute phone calls from people. So from what we are seeing is that motorcycles drift throughout the city, which are thugs, IRGC and besieged militia thugs with their weapons, going around terrifying the population and basically saying, hey dad, which is another name for Ali Khamenei, and taking that you did this to us, you asked for this war to come to us, which is really funny because this is the war that they brought upon the Iranian people for the past 47 years. But when it comes to the shipping, I want to say this, that they have threatened this for for as far as I remember, that they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. And we know that 20% of the world's oil goes through that. However, if Israeli and U.S. forces decide to hit maybe the ports, or not hit, but siege the Hart port, for example, which is this very major oil export center for Iran, then what's going to happen is the regime is going to use normal people and probably people from the military as the human shield. We know that what they're capable of. This is a survival moment for them. They would do anything to survive, and they have complete disregard for the Iranian people and their lives. I just want the world to realize that this is not a normal regime that should protect its citizens and does protect its citizens by building shelters, but it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite way. They're going to use people as the human shield.
I want to talk about that. We just saw the Israeli Prime Minister speak right now, and he essentially said that Israeli and American strikes are paving the path for Iranians to rise up and take down the regime. What do we know about movements from Iranians on the ground?
Yeah, that is a great question. So, like I said, the regime is terrifying the population and threatening that anyone who sends a photo or a video or anything to the outside world is going to be executed. And we need to also remember that besides 40,000 people who were killed and 8,000 who were blinded and hundreds of thousands who were injured, there are up to 50,000 people who are currently in prison. And we know that among them are the most brave leaders and people who have been the head of opposition, all the dissidents who have been, leading the demonstrations and protests. So people are right now inside because they're obviously afraid of the bombardments. And some of the bombardments have been, I realize that they are mostly targeted strikes, but there have been also some strikes that have hit oil, not refineries, but some places that, depots, exactly, oil depots. So, and some other infrastructure that have harmed the people. So as long as those are happening, people are not going to be able to come out because they don't want to die. But once they